cover the Trump beat and the Trump White House understand that you have to give us ample time to let us know what you're writing. Come to our office when you think of a story, when you come up with an idea to write about, and we can work with you to shape that story. We can get you the facts. Fake news is not just wrong information in a story, but it's also acting in bad faith as a reporter and not giving who you're writing about and your sources ample time to respond. There's nothing worse than when I see a reporter in my inbox 20 minutes before a deadline with an entire story written and panned out. That's acting in bad faith. They actually don't care what we have to say. They don't care about the facts in our point of view. They're just emailing us to check the box to say they reached out for comment. So that's fake news, not just, inaccuracies in their reporting as well.
So you just
everything and reads everything and consumes it all. But I think, again, it speaks to his transparency and accessibility. I mean, yesterday he sat down with Jeffrey Goldberg of The Atlantic. And we all know the story that Jeffrey Goldberg at The Atlantic recently wrote. It was quite a big news cycle. But the fact that President Trump was willing to talk to a reporter who wrote a story that we absolutely disagreed with, and many stories that we absolutely disagree with, we have condemned because they are false, they are hoaxes. The fact that the president is still willing to welcome that reporter into the Oval Office to have a direct conversation with them is exactly what we should expect in a leader of the free world. And you had a previous president in Joe Biden who hid from the press, who didn't do press engagements, hardly did sit-down interviews. And so I think this is exactly what the American people want. President Trump has revolutionized the way a president communicates. Not only does he engage directly with reporters, but he speaks directly to the public. Truth Social, there's probably been one since I've been sitting on this stage, right? I mean, he puts statements out directly. He writes them himself. He dictates them to us as staff. And I think that level of transparency is quite refreshing, and I think it's a big reason he was reelected again. They are writing a story in which the reporting will be revealed, and I'll let you all read it. Having access to more outlets, more voices, more news journalists and outlets. We shouldn't have a few outlets who have a monopoly over the briefing room or over that 13-person press pool that covers the president. And so we've actually ensured that more print outlets, like Axios, have a greater chance of being part of that 13-person press pool. There are thousands of outlets who have White House press credentials. There are hundreds that actually show up every day and cover the beat. Why should a single outlet have the privilege of being in that 13-person press pool every single day? And so the changes we've made have actually created more transparency, more accessibility, and greater access for a broad variety of outlets and a diversity of journalists, which I think is a good thing. And we've seen that play out. I mean, we started this. I think you're all still getting your news, right? You're still hearing about what the administration is doing every single day because we have good journalists who are in that room covering the president every single time. Who comprise the board of the White House Correspondence Association should not dictate who gets to go into the Oval Office and who gets to ride on Air Force One. There should be equal access for all outlets, and that's exactly what we're doing. And if we were trying, by the way, to create positive press for the president, if we were trying to make it easier on him or on the administration, we wouldn't allow some of these fake news leftist outlets in, but we continue to do that. No one has been restricted. We've just given more spots to more outlets and more voices. It's not about ideology. It's just about increasing the wide array of outlets that have access. And we live in a digital age, and we're recognizing that at the White House. The president ran a non-traditional media campaign which propelled him back to the highest office in the land, and we felt it was our responsibility to continue that in our coverage at the White House.
Smart.
He inherited a lot of problems, no doubt about it. That's why, again, the American public elected him back to this city to solve those problems. And I watch him every day thinking about the challenges we are facing as a country and as a world, as big as the Russia-Ukraine conflict, which continues and he's focused on daily, which the trade deals that he's trying to negotiate abroad, to problems as small as cleaning up the homeless encampments right here in Washington, D.C. He sees one, he calls the mayor's office, he gets it fixed. He is truly a problem solver at heart, and that's, I think, what drives him every day. He shows up early, he stays late, he works 24/7, hardly sleeps to just solve all of these problems, no matter how big or small, and that's, I think, really the mindset the president is in right now. Again, transparent, as accessible as we can, successfully messaging the president's perspective on the issues of the day. And I view that as my ultimate goal when I go to the podium, is knowing the news, knowing what reporters want to hear, knowing what the American public need to hear, and making sure that I'm talking to the president and reflecting exactly what he sees and thinks about the issues that are pressing our country.
How often does a question...
I don't know the answer, and I am upfront about that in the briefing, and I say, look, I don't know where the president stands on that. Let me go check and get back to you. And by the way, in my office, we take pride in the fact that we do, in fact, follow up with the reporters after the briefing, and we try very hard to do that. For a principal, in a way, it's actually much harder, because when you're communicating for yourself, you're messaging what you believe, or when you're a candidate, you're thinking about, what do my stakeholders believe? What do my constituents believe? What are my beliefs? What does the media think I'm going to say, but what do I want to say? And so you're grappling with all of those value sets and coming up with a decision and then messaging it, right? But when you're a communicator for someone else, for a principal, in my case, the President of the United States, my job now is to message his beliefs and his opinions and what the administration is doing and getting the truth out to the public. So in many ways, it's actually easier, because when you're a communicator for someone else, or for a business or a company, an organization, any principal at any level of government, you just have to get in their head and understand the message they want to say, and view yourself as the messenger for their cause. A combative media environment that has come to fruition over many years. And I think while combative, it's also can be cordial. And again, while the president and I and our White House are the first to call out fake news, I believe as we should, we also try to work with our counterparts in the media to make sure the coverage is as accurate and fair and truthful as possible. I agree with that, or maybe we should say it this way, or we should put the statement out that way. And something that I think President Trump doesn't get enough credit for is his ability and willingness to listen. He is an incredible listener. And if anyone's ever been in a room with him, you know he goes to every person in that room to understand their perspective, and then he makes a decision. He doesn't care if you're the highest on the totem pole or the lowest. He likes to hear from people and understand where they're coming from and to help inform his decision. So he's always asking, not just me, but my colleagues at all levels, what we think, and he takes that into account when making decisions. Position and a challenging job and a challenging workplace, and having faith in yourself, but also in God, something bigger than yourself, I think helps keep perspective in this crazy, chaotic, 24/7 challenging environment that we work in, and it's very easy to get consumed by that. But I think having faith in God kind of brings you back down to reality, makes you remember this is a season of life. It's temporary, and gives you good perspective. Whether it be the president or me or our cabinet officials every single day. I mean, the president has now held 3 cabinet meetings in which he invited the press in, and he went around the room, and each and every cabinet official at the highest level of our government directly informed the American public about what they were doing in their respective jobs. And that's very exciting to see, to have a government that's so passionate about the work they're doing and so upfront in messaging it. True, there's no doubt that the majority of the legacy media in this city are left-leaning. And anyone who wants to take me to task on that, I am more than happy to do so. It's just a fact. So I think, again, we have to welcome a wide range of media voices, but we also have to continue to work with our counterparts in the media, especially those who are left-leaning, to ensure that they understand
you make it sound like a ministry.
Our perspective. What was that?
You make it sound like a ministry.
Well, we just want to get the truth out there, and we want to make sure that the public sees it and sees what we're doing with no bias, unfiltered, just the facts. Facts are flying off the shelves. Prepares you for the game of politics in many ways. Discipline, hard work, teamwork. I wish I had more time for the gym these days, but I enjoy it. Long walks in the city. DC is beautiful, and I have a young son who I enjoy taking out for walks any chance I can get.